Okay, before I even start this, mum, dad, especially dad, please don't watch this. Actually, close family in general, just please don't watch this. I have looked through the questions and I am going to be honest with you guys. I am going to be straight up real about this whole postpartum life for me. I'm going to just dive into stuff that really I feel like needs to be talked about and doesn't get talked about enough. Okay, so hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So if you're new here, then I am Lottie. I'm a first-time mum of Lila Rose, who's nearly 9 months now. So I'm quite far into my postpartum journey, but I've never actually done a Q&A on this. There are lots and lots of questions that you guys want answered. So I'm literally going to pick them at random and I'm just going to go for it. Okay, where shall we start? Well, there was quite a few questions that asked me, was I scared about pooping during labour and did I poop during labour? So I'm just going to start with that one. So if you haven't seen my labour and delivery story, I will just leave a link down in the description for you guys so you can go and check that one out. But basically I had an induction, I also ended up pushing and I nearly had a vaginal birth, and then I ended up having a cesarean because Lila Rose's head was turned the wrong way. So I feel like I've kind of been through it all and I've had an experience in all the areas, and I nearly did have a vaginal birth. So yes, I was very nervous about pooping during labour, and I kept saying that to Rick, that I just really did not want to do a number 2 on the table in front of everybody. I just can't even fart in front of people, let alone do a poo. Rick always said that it doesn't matter, you're bringing life into the world, like that is the last thing that you need to think about and that you will be thinking about. But yeah, honestly, I was really nervous. In the actual moment of pushing, I actually didn't care. They were all so professional, they were already looking down there all the time anyway, so I really didn't care. When I did actually ask Rick, I'm pretty certain he said that I didn't poop. Actually, I'm gonna ask him. Rick, did I poop during labour? No. Thank you. There you go. So no, he didn't see anything. So yeah, for me, luckily I didn't poop, but it is something that I was really nervous, but I promise you, when I was in the moment, I actually didn't care. Most surprising aspect of postpartum, hair loss and dry skin is awful for me. Oh my god, I am with you there. Eczema flare-up, did not expect that to be a thing for me, but oh my goodness, my skin has been so awful. Postpartum hair loss as well. I didn't even realise that was a thing until my hair was literally falling out in clumps and I had to Google it, and then it said, yeah, for about 6 months you can get postpartum hair loss. But for me, the most surprising thing was how much my mood changed, and I felt like I was out of control of my own mood. Honestly, I would be so stressy and frustrated when I had to wake up like twice in the night for Lila Rose, even though she was a newborn and I knew that I was going to have to do night feeds anyway. I actually googled it and it said that you can get postpartum rage, which I never realised was a thing at all. So if you're a new mum and you have a new baby and you're feeling really frustrated or just aggravated and you have no idea why, there is actually a thing called postpartum rage. I had no idea. How did you know when to go to the hospital when you were in labour? So for me, obviously I had an induced labour, so it was already kind of planned. Unfortunately, I can't really answer that for you because I had a cesarean, but yeah. Did you ever get your sex drive back? There's a couple of these questions. I'm gonna answer this question, and then because I've seen some of the other questions, I'm gonna go deeper into this whole subject because I really feel like it needs to be talked about. So did I ever get my sex drive back? For me, personally, actually no. Now there's not many YouTubers that I've watched doing these kind of postpartum Q&As or just talking about postpartum that have actually said no, they didn't really get their sex drive back. I had what I would like to call a very normal sex drive beforehand, whereas now I just struggle to get things going. So there's probably some people that are watching this that just really don't relate, but as far as I know, a lot of people seem to just go back to normal. But for the few that might be like me, where their sex drive has been pretty low and they might be struggling with that, then honestly, I am with you there. Rick has been absolutely amazing, and I'm not saying that we haven't obviously done it, but if you're asking about sex drive in general, I have definitely noticed that there has been a massive dip in the sex drive for me. So I'll finish that question there, but I do go into that deeper with some of the other questions as well. When your water breaks, does it feel like a wee? Not like you were weeing yourself, because you kind of know when you're about to wee yourself, but it literally felt like just water trickling out. A bit like when you get out of a bath and sometimes you have like excess water coming out. I'm so hoping I'm not the only person that gets that. It's a little bit like that, but in a massive quantity. Did you experience phantom kicks postpartum? I actually did not realise this was a thing, and as soon as I read that question, it completely clicked. When I read that and I actually did some research and googled that you can get that, I 100% yes, I've had it, and it is the weirdest but almost lush. It's lush to think that there's still a baby in there. For a second I actually genuinely thought there could have been a baby in there, but yeah, I did experience it and I had no idea. So there you go, you might not know that, but you can get postpartum like phantom kicks where it feels like the baby is still inside of you and still kicking. Did Did you use anything after birth to make it easier to go for a number 2? I was so nervous to go to the toilet for a number 1 and 2. So nervous that I actually got a nurse to come with me because I was like adamant that I was going to be in loads of pain. And actually I didn't feel anything. I don't know if that's because I was getting loads of drugs pumped into me, because obviously I had had a cesarean, so they were still trying to make sure that I wasn't feeling the pain from the scar. For me personally, yeah, I had no problems. I didn't use anything to help me go or anything. Do stitches hurt? So I had an epidural and I was just like numb from here downwards. I was awake when I had the cesarean as well. I don't remember being in pain. I just remember being a bit distracted. When Lila Rose was on my chest, I just felt distracted because you could feel something going on and you knew that they were stitching you, but it wasn't painful at all. Did having a C-section affect how you bonded with Lila Rose? Absolutely, 100% did it. It didn't even cross my mind that I could possibly have a cesarean. Like, I was so adamant that I was going to have a normal labour. I felt like she was just taken out of this cupboard where they keep babies and she was just handed to me and was like, yeah, this is your baby, because I couldn't actually make the connection that she came out of me. Like, I wasn't seeing her coming out of me, I wasn't feeling her come out of me. She was behind a screen. I had no idea what was going on. I struggled to bond with Lila Rose because I wasn't really like certain that she was mine. I was still just feeling very numb, to be honest. I mean, it took about 7 weeks or so for that to fade, but I think it was more just like the shock that was in my system. That's the best I can explain it, but yeah, it definitely had an effect, but I don't think it would next time. How did you find postpartum mentally? Like I said, I did have postpartum rage and I was very numb for 7 weeks after having that cesarean, just like mentally very numb. Everything was just a bit of a blur, to be honest, for the first 3 months, and sometimes it is, even after 9 months, sometimes it just all looks like a blur. I think now I'm probably in the best place that I have ever been, whereas when I first had her, especially being a first-time mum, I was stressed, I was overtired, and it all just took its toll mentally, and I just felt so low, just so incredibly low without even needing a reason. So yeah, I feel like it's definitely got easier, 100%, but those first couple of months were very difficult. What is postpartum really like? Blood, recovery, sex after birth. So let's start off with blood. Now, there is a reason why in all my postpartum videos I talk about adult nappies, and it's because you need adult nappies. Even my periods now, and that is 9 months on, my periods can still be a lot heavier than what they used to be, and I still sometimes wear those adult nappies to bed. That is the reality of it. The first, I think it's about 3 months, were very heavy, and yeah, it wasn't brilliant, but adult nappies are absolutely brilliant, so get yourself some of those if you are pregnant, but honestly there's nothing to be worried about. Recovery in general was quite quick. Obviously I didn't have vaginal birth, so I didn't have to worry about like stitches. They say after a cesarean you have to take it easy, but for me, I'm not very good at taking it easy, and I'll be honest, I broke the rules quite a bit. I literally just got on with life as normal because I was on so many like drugs that I didn't feel anything. I don't advise that for anybody having a cesarean, but lucky for me, my scar completely healed as normal and I've had no hernias or anything like that, but I wouldn't be doing that again. Next time I'll literally just sit down and just take the advantage of sitting down. And sex after birth, so obviously I did have a cesarean, but I also did push for an hour, so it was almost like I had a vaginal birth. Like, she was near enough there, it was just that her head was in the wrong place. So I was very nervous about having sex, and I personally think we didn't do anything for at least 8 weeks, I think it was. That was purely because I just was not ready to. I was so nervous about it, and I think when we actually did, it slightly hurt and it slightly felt uncomfortable. It wasn't something that was painful or traumatic experience for me. You're so slim, do you have a flappy tummy bit post C-section? I'm scared. Oh, don't be scared. Honestly, I was literally bricking it, and I actually look back at my experience and think it was actually a really good experience. Like, I would so totally go and do that again tomorrow, and I don't think I'd be nervous for it. Obviously I know every experience is different, but don't be scared, honestly. Just think how many babies are born in the world and everybody recovers and people go on to have more. What did you say? Do you have a flappy tummy bit? So I will actually show you this because I feel like it's important for people. I look like I'm stripping. I'm not stripping, I promise. So you can see how small I actually am, but you can see that this bit sticks out just here. My scar's actually like down here, but this bit right here sticks out. And when I had my, I think it's 6 to 8 week postpartum checkup, they actually checked everything and said that the muscles had parted quite a lot compared to what would normally happen. I think that's because I was so small before, and so when Lila Rose kept growing, the muscles parted really, really fast. So I actually had to have some physiotherapy just to see if those muscles would come back to normal, which they have. They've actually tightened back well. But without sounding too scientific, what the physiotherapist said is that the reason why I've got got that little bulge, even though I'm back to my normal weight, there's long muscles down here that literally are like that. When you have a baby, those muscles stretch to accumulate your baby. So the reason I look like I've still got a bit of a bump is because those muscles have stretched. So basically I can just go back to toning my stomach as usual, which is something that I've just started doing because I've only just got the all clear too. I know it's a struggle and it's a really scary thing to think of your body changing after birth, and if you have a cesarean. Honestly, I think I found it really tough having to look at the scar afterwards, but now it's something that I don't even notice. Like, it's just there, it's completely healed okay. So don't be scared. Everybody comes in all sorts of different shapes and sizes, and our bodies definitely change after having a baby. Like, even if you look at me and think I look skinny, mine has still changed into a point where I want to get it sorted out. I know in my case it might not be drastic, but for a lot of people they can really struggle with how their bodies change, and you just need to keep looking at it like you've brought life into the world, and that is way more amazing and more important. But I will say, if it is really dragging you down with how your body looks after, then don't ignore that, because obviously that's affecting you mentally, and that's something that will need to be addressed. What's your sex life like now, and how do you keep it interesting? So like I kind of already touched on this already, my sex drive is very low after giving birth, which isn't very normal for me. So it hasn't returned back to normal, but I will say that when we do have sex, it is very normal. There's like nothing that's changed there. But in terms of how do I keep things interesting, I'm actually going to be completely honest and say that there hasn't been enough times for me to answer that. And I know that sounds really sad, but that is the reality for some people, and I'm just going to be very honest. I don't think I've ever seen a YouTuber admit that they hardly have sex after having a baby. As far as I know, I'm going to be the first YouTuber to say it, because I feel like it can happen to some people, and people don't want to feel alone in that journey. So I couldn't tell you how we keep it interesting, because we honestly just don't do it enough, and it's something that we are literally working on. Literally today I'm waiting for a doctor's call because I am physically just not feeling the sex drive. It's taken 9 months, but these things need to be talked through. So hopefully if I do a Q&A in the future, you can ask me that question again, and I will literally be able to tell you this is how I keep it interesting, because it's all a journey, and for some people they hop right back on it and they get back to normal within like 6 weeks. For me, it's not quite like that, but it is a journey and it is a process, and we will get there, and we are getting there. What have you learned about yourselves after becoming parents? I have learned that I am a very stressy person, and I am not chilled out at all. I think Rick's probably learned about in general just how to be a dad, because for him, he didn't have a dad at all. He has just picked things up so fast, and yeah, he's just been amazing. So I'm going to answer that question on behalf of him, because I don't know if that person didn't realise that he wasn't going to be in this video. What were the first couple of days like? To be honest, I can't even remember. It actually upsets me that I can't even remember bringing Lila Rose home. I can't actually remember the first night at home. I really wish I filmed it. I wish I had all the newborn videos like everybody else does, all the routine videos, but honestly I was so numb emotionally. I was so tired. I was so physically just in a complete blur that I just didn't want to film anything. A lot of people say that they found it absolutely incredible. For me, I don't think I could say that because of just my emotions. Like, they were just shut down. I did have times where I just absolutely loved it, but in general it was just a massive blur. First time mum not really having much support through COVID. Any info on how you made yourself comfy? Oh, that really upsets me, because there is so many people that are going through this and they don't get to have their partners with them at all, and that's just so sad. I personally don't think I could have done it without an epidural. For me, that made me very comfortable, and as soon as I had that epidural, I actually relaxed and enjoyed my birth. But obviously there is completely different opinions on epidural. For me, I was actually completely set against it. I wanted a completely natural labour, but when I was actually in the moment and I was on the gas and air and I was in quite a lot of pain, I actually just gave in, and I thought, I just want to enjoy this experience. Like, I'm bringing life into the world, I should be enjoying this and not absolutely hating it. So as soon as I had the epidural, for me that made me comfortable. In terms of not being able to have your partner there because of COVID, then I would say honestly you get this inner strength from somewhere. I look back, and even though I wouldn't want to do it without Rick, I know that I could have done it without Rick. Not saying that he didn't have any part in it, of course he did, but there's just this inner strength that comes out of you, that once you're there, you are there and you're going to get on with it, and yeah, it's all going to be okay. So yeah, I really hope that kind of answers your question. What does a mucus plug do, and what does it feel like when it comes out? I don't really know what it does. I don't know if it means the baby's engaging, but it's like your body's getting ready. To be honest, I didn't really feel it. I think I just went to the toilet and I saw something in my knickers and I was like, oh my god, what the hell is that? I actually ended up taking a picture and I sent it to my friend who has 2 children. Honestly, such a good friendship when you can do that. But honestly, I was like, is this a mucus plug? Am I nearly there? I got so excited thinking it was labour. Some people think that it's labour starting, but I went 16 days overdue and ended up with an induction. And for anybody wondering what it looks like, you could literally Google it and you will actually see it on Google, but it is kind of like literally mucus, like what you would get maybe come out the back of your throat. A little bit like that with like a tinge of like blood colour in it. That sounds gross, but that's the truth. Okay, so this looks like the last question. I have to stay in the hospital for a few days without hubby after a C-section. Any advice? Oh, I literally hate that. I'm guessing you're going to be on your own because of COVID, which is just absolutely awful. But from experience, I will say make sure that you get a lot of help from your nurses. Just literally pester them to come and help you out, because after a cesarean, for me, I obviously wasn't allowed to move from the bed for 24 hours, so I actually relied on Rick being able to like hand Lila Rose over to me and just those kind of things. Obviously I couldn't move around the room, so definitely make sure that you get help from your midwives and your nurses that are around you. Take spare wipes for yourself as well, because if you're anything like me, I couldn't actually shower for a good 24 hours, and yeah, it's just good to just like get yourself clean. So honestly, you will find the power and the will to do it on your own, but I will say if you can video chat your partner as much as possible. Obviously it is so difficult for him, like it's so difficult for you having the baby there, but it's so difficult for the partners as well that can't be involved. So video chat, just try and talk to him and communicate with him, show him pictures, just as much as possible to try and get him involved as well. So that is all my questions. I hope you guys enjoyed that one and didn't get too grossed out on some parts of that. If you can relate to anything I've just said, then I would love it if you leave a comment down below or just message me over on Instagram, because it is so good to just know and see that we are just not alone in this. But that is all for today's video. If you haven't hit that subscribe button already and you'd like to, then please don't forget to hit it before you leave, because it really helps to support my channel. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!